When a corrupt judge, a sworn enemy of the Trump faction, humiliates J.D. Vance in the middle of the courtroom, he believes himself a god above all laws. But when his prey rises to strike back, fate turns in a flash, leaving the entire courtroom frozen in stunned disbelief. Before diving into this gripping drama, drop a comment letting us know which state you're watching from. The morning at the federal courthouse started like any other, until Judge Victor Grayson stormed in with a temper ready to devour the world. "I said no energy drinks in here," he roared at the clerk, making the rookie tremble like a leaf. "Tell the defense team that if they're not here in 3 seconds, I'll throw the lot of them in contempt." The crowd watched in eerie silence as Grayson charged to the bench, his face flushed red like a volcano about to erupt. His reputation for ruthless gavel slams was well known, but lately his madness had flared like wildfire, especially in cases tied to conservative figures. "Sir," the clerk stammered forward, "Vice President Vance has arrived to testify." Grayson narrowed his eyes, a sinister smirk curling his lips. "Oh, the golden boy himself?" he sneered, dripping with contempt. "Make sure he knows this isn't the Capitol stage. In my kingdom, that title's only good for mopping floors." The air grew thick with tension as J.D. Vance entered. He moved with a quiet, commanding presence, nodding respectfully to the court staff. Grayson eyed him like a starving wolf, his fingers drumming wildly on the bench. "Listen up," he growled. "I don't care who you are in that flashy Capitol. In this arena, I am king, I am law. Got it, Vance?" J.D. Vance replied with a calm that only fueled Grayson's rage. "Crystal clear, sir. I'm here only to speak the truth." "Truth?" Grayson scoffed. "Let's see how much that truth's worth." He glared at the defense table. "Start this farce already." "Record this," Grayson interrupted the defense attorney's opening. "I'm sick of these cheap political stunts in my domain." He shot a razor-sharp look at Vance. "This isn't your campaign playground." The attorney tried again. "Sir, we're just clarifying the funding sources for Mr. Carter." "Sources?" Grayson laughed like a deranged clown. "The source is your client being accused of tax theft. End of story. I don't need your sappy charity tales." Every time the attorney mentioned Carter's community work, Grayson cut in with growing hostility. "Nonsense! Move on, don't make me repeat myself." His gavel crashed like thunder, leaving the court reporter struggling to keep up. When Vance took the stand, Grayson turned into a full-blown monster. "Stand straight for the oath," he barked, though Vance's posture was impeccable. "And speak clearly, no political double talk here." "Sir," Vance began calmly, "I can confirm Mr. Carter's financial transparency with the Vision Dawn Fund." "Oh, here we go again," Grayson cut in, rolling his eyes like a stage actor. "Another conservative fairy tale about hollow goodness." The gallery stirred uneasily, even the prosecution shifting uncomfortably at his blatant bias. But Grayson was just warming up. "Let me be blunt." He leaned forward, face red as a raging bull. "I'm fed up with rich conservatives hiding their dirty money behind charity masks." Vance remained as cool as ice, but that composure only poured fuel on Grayson's fire. His hands trembled as he shuffled papers, his eyes darting nervously to a mysterious stack on the bench. "I have here," Vance said steadily, "evidence of Mr. Carter's contributions, including the April Vision Summit meetings." "Those are inadmissible," Grayson roared, though no objection had been raised. His reaction was frantic, like a cornered animal. "Sir?" The defense attorney shot up. "On what grounds?" "Don't you dare question me," Grayson bellowed, his face purpling with rage. "One more word, and you're joining your client in contempt." The prosecution squirmed. This was no longer justice, but a personal vendetta. "Sir," Vance spoke up, his voice firm as steel, "these documents were properly submitted from the start." "Oh, really?" Grayson sneered. "Let me guess, your fancy White House connections had nothing to do with it? I'll teach you a lesson about your kind, Mr. Vice President. You think you can strut in here with your political privilege and—" "Objection, sir," the defense attorney roared. "This is outrageous." "Shut up." Grayson slammed the gavel like he meant to shatter it. "I won't be lectured in my own kingdom, especially not by some conservative puppet." "Sir," Vance interjected, his voice flowing like a calm river over rocks, Perhaps we should discuss the details of the April 10th meeting. Grayson's expression shifted in an instant. His fury melted into raw fear, his hand freezing mid-air with the gavel. He stared at Vance like he'd seen a ghost. Those meetings are irrelevant, he stammered, his voice losing its edge. But his eyes kept flicking to that fresh folder on the bench. Irrelevant? Vance asked softly. Odd, sir, since they directly tie to the charity funds. Enough! Grayson slammed both hands on the bench, the sound like an explosion. One more word about those meetings, and you're out. The gallery held its breath as Grayson's control unraveled. His hands shook visibly as he rifled through papers, desperately clutching at fading authority. In fact, he hissed, his voice teetering on madness, I'm holding you in contempt right now. You think that title protects you? You're just Trump's lackey in a shiny suit. Sir, Vance remained unshaken, my title has nothing to do with this. But since you mentioned protection, let's talk about the Starlight Fund's hush money. Grayson's face drained to a ghostly white. You dare? What money? There's no... Get him out of here! The bailiffs hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances. Grayson had crossed a line, and everyone knew it. Actually, sir, Vance opened his briefcase, I have some intriguing bank statements. Care to explain the offshore deposits aligning with your rulings against conservatives? Silence, Grayson shrieked, shedding all judicial decorum. You have no right. I am the law here, not some bootlicking conservative. Vance held up a document. Your signature on these transfers says otherwise, sir. Grayson lunged forward, a trembling finger pointing at Vance. You planted this. This is a conservative conspiracy. He stopped. Too late, his outburst had betrayed him. Conspiracy, Vance echoed, his voice a whisper with a razor's edge. Interesting word, sir, especially given your secret meetings with radical groups. I won't be interrogated in my own court, Grayson spat, spittle flying. You think you can waltz in here with that smug face and... Evidence? He hissed the word like poison. Evidence, Vance continued, his tone steady as a blade, showing a disturbing pattern. Like the Jensen case last month, a small business owner ruined because you blocked his charity proof, just like today. Grayson cackled hysterically. Jensen? That conservative fraud deserved it. They all do. These people think they can hide behind fake goodwill. Or, Vance pulled out another file. The Eliza hearing, where you sealed records hours after meeting the Starlight Fund. Grayson's face twitched violently. How do you... He caught himself, but the slip was fatal. Know what, sir? The meeting or the $100,000 in your offshore account the next day? The gallery erupted in murmurs. Grayson pounded the gavel in panic, each strike weaker than the last. Order! I demand order! His voice cracked. This is all fabricated, a conservative plot to... Like the Clara case, Vance pressed on. An old woman stripped of her life's savings because you wouldn't let her explain. Funny how the suing company donated to your re-election weeks prior. Shut up! Grayson screamed, his composure shattering. You have no right. I am the law! No! Vance's voice sliced through the chaos. You're supposed to serve it. Like when you took your oath the same day you opened that Cayman account. Grayson leapt up, robes askew, jabbing wildly at Vance. Arrest him for contempt. Seize those documents, now! What are you waiting for? He yelled at the frozen bailiffs. Before they do, sir, Vance said, his calm unshaken. Why are you so desperate to grab these files? I don't answer to you. Grayson paced like a caged beast. I'm a federal judge. My authority is absolute. Absolute, Vance mused. A recurring theme, sir, like the Harris case last week. When you sealed evidence of your private meeting, Grayson froze mid-step. How did you... Those records were supposed to... He stopped. The damage done. Supposed to what, sir? Be destroyed like the Starlight Fund files? Enough! Grayson roared, his face contorted in fury. You self-righteous conservatives think you can expose... Expose what? Vance pushed, his voice a steady blade. Systematic judicial abuse? Targeted attacks on conservatives? Or the payoffs you've taken? Silence! Grayson shrieked, losing all control. He grabbed the gavel and flung it across the room, narrowly missing his clerk. Want to talk abuse of power? I'll show you abuse. Cuff him now, and anyone who defies me joins him. The courtroom fell into an eerie hush, Grayson's heavy breathing amplifying the tension. The bailiffs remained still, their faces torn between duty and doubt. Last chance, Vance, Grayson snarled, venom dripping. Hand over those files and submit, or I'll bar you from every courtroom. A bold threat, Vance replied, opening another folder, much like what you told Lily before dismissing her case, right after meeting CEO Roland Pierce. Grayson's face turned ashen. What? How did you... Roland Pierce? Vance pressed on, his voice icy. Who wired $500,000 to your Cayman account? The same Pierce who hosted that yacht meeting last month with 7 other judges, all ruling in his favor the next week. You have no right, Grayson screamed, spittle flying. Those records are privileged. Privileged like the recordings from your chambers, Vance asked softly, where you ordered your clerk to shred evidence that could have freed 3 conservative defendants. The clerk at her desk broke into sobs. He forced me, she cried. He threatened to ruin me. Silence, Grayson bellowed, but his authority crumbled. None of this is admissible. Actually, Vance cut in, it's all legal. Your own cameras caught the midnight shredding. Your phone recorded the threats. Your signature authorized the transfers. Grayson lunged forward, clawing at Vance's evidence folder like a drowning man. Give me those files. I order you. Order denied, a new voice boomed from the back. Heads turned to see FBI agents marching down the aisle. This court is under federal investigation, the lead agent declared, badge gleaming. Judge Victor Grayson, stay where you are. You can't do this, Grayson shrieked, backing away. I have immunity. I have connections. We know exactly who you are, the agent replied, including your meetings with the Starlight Fund, your offshore accounts, and your scheme against conservatives. Grayson's eyes darted wildly for an escape. This is a setup, a conservative plot. A plot? Vance interjected, his voice cutting like a knife. The only plot here is your systematic abuse of power. Every biased ruling, every backroom deal. It ends today. You orchestrated this! Grayson jabbed a trembling finger at Vance. You and your Trump-loving cronies set me up. No. Vance shook his head. You set yourself up. We just gave you enough rope to hang with your own words. As FBI agents closed in, Grayson made a final, desperate lunge. I'm a federal judge. You can't arrest me. I am the law. The agents had to restrain him as he bolted for his chambers. They made me, he screamed. The fund. They have dirt on everyone. Interesting, the lead agent said. Tell us more about this fund. But Grayson clamped shut, his face twisting in panic. I want my lawyer, he snarled. You'll all pay for this humiliation. Speaking of payment, Vance stepped forward, producing another document. Care to explain these transfer records? 7 judges, all paid on the same days as you, all ruling against conservatives in coordinated cases. The gallery buzzed with shock. This wasn't just one corrupt judge, but a network. The evidence suggests, Vance's voice rang out, this was a deliberate effort to weaponize the judiciary. But justice is a shield, not a sword. Grayson stopped struggling, his face a mask of defeat, as the full scope of his exposure sank in. Behind him, officers sealed his chambers for investigation, while his clerk tearfully confessed under FBI questioning. His final walk of shame out of his own courtroom was a stark symbol of justice served. But as agents led him away in cuffs, he turned to glare at J.D. Vance. You think this changes anything? He spat bitterly. There will always be others like me. You can't stop us all. You're right about one thing, Vance replied quietly. There will always be abusers of power. But there will also always be those who stand against them. That's what makes our justice system work. Not the corruption you embody, but the courage to fight it. Grayson's arrest sparked a wildfire of investigations across jurisdictions. The network of corrupt judges began to collapse as evidence piled up and witnesses emerged. The most powerful moment came when Carter's case was dismissed. The new judge, reviewing the evidence Grayson had desperately suppressed, found no basis for charges. In the end, justice isn't shaped by those who seek to control it, but by those willing to defend it. If you believe in truth and accountability, hit like and subscribe for more inspiring stories. God bless you, and God bless America.